You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
A new year means it's time for a new home network that can keep up. With Cox Internet, you have the speed and coverage your family needs to stay connected. You'll enjoy Cox's fiber-based hybrid network with options for fast upload and download speeds. And if your household has lots of connected devices, Panoramic Wi-Fi may be the perfect fit thanks to its additional control features. Plus, with advanced security on Panoramic Wi-Fi, you'll know each connected device is securely protected 24/7. A whole world of connectivity is yours with Cox Internet. Learn more at Cox.com.
Somewhere between heaven and the deep Intellectual Sanctuary. I don't know if I'm going to find it. Not on this Ghetto Rock. Welcome. If you find yourself traversing about the internet, stop it. Go away. There you go. If you find yourself traversing about the interwebs, and it's about 9:07 on a Sunday night, get in that chat room at www.klrnradio.com, where you are now listening to Sunday Night with your humble host here, Alan Ray, doing shameless self-promotion. Latest song that I just put out, Deep Blue Sea. I wrote it 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I've had the basis of it recorded. It's I'm just going to throw some guitar solos on it, throw it out there. I sort of like it. I don't know if anybody else does. Don't care. My show. I'm just going to throw it out there. Anyways, get in the chat room at www.klrnradio.com. Enjoy yourself and lounge about at the end of this fine Sunday night, Mother's Day, with distinguished gentlemen such as Orty, Jeff, myself, Crow, Mike, Rex. Evo, I think he's dead. Go poke him with a stick, guys. Go over in the corner and see if he's alive. And, of course, Raptor. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I love that. Yes, Crow, I did that song. That is called Deep Blue Sea, and you can find it on SoundCloud. I will be putting it on YouTube as soon as I get off my dead butt and actually make a YouTube thing out of it. It won't be an extravagant video. It'll probably just be music and lyrics like all my other YouTube videos because, I don't know. Guys, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. It's probably going to be one of my last real production rock with sequencers and screaming guitars and crap. I've got 3 songs queued up, about 2/3 of the way done, that are acoustic, very earthy, and I just find that people like that better. I like it, but I like it better because it's a lot closer to what I play live now. I used to do crap like that, like Deep Blue Sea, all the time live, doing, and I can't do 4 hours of screaming and yelling and doing that stuff, and my voice is getting old and shot, so I stick to old hippie music for the most part. But that was just a little wild hair I got up my butt, and I was kind of mad at the world, and just coming off of the COVID lockdowns and all that stuff, and just weird things going on. But it applies today. It really does apply to today. There's so many strange things going on. There's so much happening in this world right now that, the politics, the wars, this election coming up. You had what's-her-face from the CDC getting grilled by Congress, finally admitting that they knew the vaccine was not effective. They knew, but they pushed it, and they made you take it. We knew all the way back then, but we were called terrorists. We were called conspiracy theorists. They had to change the definition of vaccine and vaccination. You heard it from me. You heard. I think it was September of 2021 that the CDC went in there and they had to change the very definition of vaccine and vaccinated because people were using the CDC's own definition of vaccine and vaccinated to show them that what you have is not a vaccine. And we were called all kinds of names for it. So, well, you're killing people. You're killing grandma because you won't get the shot. Well, I got the shot. I didn't get Pfizer. I didn't get AstraZeneca or whatever it is. I got a good old-fashioned, made from eggs, Johnson & Johnson and I still to this day I just don't think that they gave me the booster that I was supposed to get or get fired. The guy, the doctor that supposedly administered to, something weird happened there. And I don't think he actually literally gave it to me. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. It was kind of weird. But anyways, Crow, I have a YouTube channel. It's kind of in its infancy. I'm going to add a whole bunch of stuff to it here pretty soon. In fact, for a while there, I think Jeff actually had the link to it underneath here. Maybe not anymore. Man, that's okay. But anyways, I got to dig the link up myself because I haven't added to it for a while. But welcome, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. A lot of weird stuff going on. First of all, and foremostly, we got to talk about the solar storm. Jeff didn't do a show today. Shame on you, Jeff. And my God, there's a lot. It was great. It was beautiful. A lot of pictures coming through, and we're talking lights from the UP and Minnesota all the way down into Florida, all the way down into some spots of South America. Hey, there it is. Thanks, Jeff. You know it more than I do. Alan Ray's Music Mayhem. That's the channel. It's got some old stuff on it. I got to update it because I got a lot of new stuff. But there you go. Yes, shame on you, Jeff. You didn't do a show. Gosh. And I was looking forward to nerding out with Jeff because he would probably have a better take on everything that's going on than I would. But we're gonna fumble through it like a teenager's first date. We're gonna fumble through it. Now I know a little bit about it. And the pictures were absolutely awesome. But there was more going on than the beautiful pictures. When you see the, quote, Northern Lights, unquote, and I've seen them several times. I've seen them enough that it wasn't a big deal to me. That I saw the sky turn a couple of shades of color, but there was clouds rolling in. And I just, it was like, man, I'm not going to stay up till early in the morning watching this stuff. I'm tired. I just got home from work. I went to bed. But there was beautiful pictures all over the place. And what made me happy, what made me smile, is a lot of people in places that normally would never, ever see the Northern Lights got to see them. People in Georgia, people in Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri, I saw pictures. Places where people would have to physically just get up and go north somewhere to take a chance and see if the Northern Lights were on. They actually got to see them from their home, and they were just in awe. I've seen them several times. I really have. I've seen them on the banks of Lake Superior up north, where there's nothing. It was pitch black. There's nothing to inhibit them, and it was just lighting up the sky. It looked like a giant fireworks. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. So it wasn't a big thing to me. And Crow, you know then, growing up in Wisconsin, saw the Northern Lights frequently. But all of these other people around the world got to see the Northern Lights. And they were in awe of them. They just were fascinated by them. It was so great. And I'm glad for them. I really, really am glad. And you may get to see them again tonight when I'm done with the show. Rowdy Rick Robinson's already messaged me and said, hey, man, he's got internet problems, got things going on, not going to have a show tonight. So maybe you should, maybe in different places, still be able to see the Northern Lights. The storm is still going on, not with the intensity that it was, but it's still pretty intense. But it's going to heat back up a little bit. I got a feeling it's going to ramp back up just a little bit. It's going to be off and on. As beautiful as the lights were, and as beautiful as all the pictures I see rolling in, and as in awe of this that everybody was, and you could tell people were just fascinated by it. And the craziest thing in the world, now, I've talked about her on this show before. One of these days, I'm going to have to see if she'll actually come on the show. Dr. Tamitha Skov. She's on her way to Italy right now for a big conference for solar weather. She is the solar weather queen. She actually does a YouTube show every week on what's to come for solar weather. And if you're in ham radio, such as myself, that's important. Solar weather is important because it means either good propagation or propagation that sucks. And I've gotten into it. I've fallen down the rabbit hole in between Tamitha Skov, Dr. Skov, and solarham.com. Used to be solarham.net. He just changed everything over. Solarham.com. You get a good picture of what you can expect when you're going to get on ham radio and try to get, contact people. And it's been up and down. Now, we are coming up on the solar maximum. We haven't even reached the solar maximum yet, and we just had a major storm. This was a huge storm. I think they haven't had a storm like this since, 2003 or 2008, one of the two. It just escapes my mind. But we're going to go in more depth about how intense this storm was. But the thing about it was Dr. Skov was on an airplane. she was on a jet to Italy for a solar conference. And she took some pictures out the window and said the solar storm was my companion all the way into Italy. And then she said something that blew my mind. Okay, this is the queen of solar weather. She had never seen the northern lights in person. And then she got to see them flying all the way over to Italy from America. And it occurred to me then, it's like, this is a great thing. On the surface, it is a beautiful thing. It's just absolutely wonderful that people got to see this. Now, that beauty, just like a lot of things in life, that beauty held danger. Dangers that we can't even imagine. And we're going to go into it a little bit right now. First of all, I've only been a ham radio operator, but for a couple of years now, since 2000, or since 2020, I should say, not 2000, since 2020. I got my ham radio license just as everything was shutting down and people were, supposed to wear masks. And so I've had it 4 years, and I have never seen a 24-hour period where the HF bands. Now, let me jump back just a little bit and explain this to you. HF bands, high-frequency bands. If you are on a radio and you are on an AM, you get your old old-fashioned radio and put it on AM and go to the very top of the bands. When you reach the top of that band, the next step up is considered HF radio. And those are ham radio frequencies. They go from, about 1.8 all the way up to, they go way up the scale. But high-frequency bands, and then you have what they call very high-frequency bands, which are like your 2-meter bands, stuff like that. And your ultra-high-frequency bands, which are like your 70-centimeter, stuff like that, all the way up into your very high, your cell phones and stuff like that are all in ultra-high-frequency bands. Now, I probably didn't explain that as adequately as I want to, but I say all this to say that the HF bands were flat. There was nothing on them. Usually they are very, very busy with people talking, digital radio, CW, Morse code. They were flat. There was nothing. You could not communicate on those bands. There was a couple of people that said that they had a hard time, but they got digital comms through, which again proves my point that a lot of people downplay digital communications on HF radios for ham radios. They downplay FT8. They downplay, some of the, Olivia, which is the newest one that you can actually text people back and forth. They say, well, that's not really ham radio. Yes, it really is ham radio. And there is a place for it. We just went through 24 hours where it was a darn good place for the digital communications because it was the only thing that had a chance of getting through on the HF bands. A chance. And there was a couple of people I saw in the ham radio community that actually activated Parks for Parks on the Air using digital mode. FT8 is the common one. Some CW got through, depending on the time of the day, depending on the time of the night. Some CW got through, but not much. The rest of the bands, there was nothing. There was nothing but static because that solar storm hit the ionosphere full tilt, and it knocked all the HF frequencies out. Now, this is where, and I know I'm nerding out here. I'm nerding out, and I hope you're following me with this. Guys in chat, if I'm losing you, just let me know. This is where having your ham radio license comes in handy because a lot of people were taking to 2-meter and 70-centimeter, which are what they call dual band, which is, tech licensees. Anybody could use them as long as you got a ham radio license, tech licenses, anything like that. Also now, if you get a GMR license, it's right in the ultra-high frequency band too. You could use that. And all of these frequencies stayed relatively open. You could still hit repeaters. You could still get county to county. I was still talking to people down in Fulton County, up in Ann Arbor, in Detroit. I was still talking to those people on my radio. But if you wanted to get farther out with HF, Nope, wasn't going to happen. Case in point, Saturday morning, I usually have what they call a net, a 40-meter net with the guys from the East Coast Reflector that I'm a facilitator on now. And a lot of them are in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York is right in the path of the lobes of my antenna, and usually we blow each other's doors off. It's just like you and I talking right now. I can hear it that clear. Nothing. And, the godfather of the East Coast Reflector, W2B, JPQ, he's running 1,500 watts of power. 1,500 watts of power, and I did not hear him one bit. Nothing. That's how powerful this storm was. Now, that's just radio communications. That's just one thing. So we gave up on the morning net, Saturday morning net, after like the first call that nobody could hear anybody. It's just like, nope, not happening. Even the Navy net, which comes on before ours on the same frequency, gave up after 18 minutes. These guys are hardcore communications people from the Navy. They've been doing this all of their lives. They've been doing this on ships, in some of them during wars, and they gave up because he just couldn't hear anything. So we gave up, and we started talking about it, and another guy, a good friend of mine in there, that he's like an antenna nerd. He turned me on to solar weather. We talk a lot about this stuff. Was talking about the impact on our electric grid that solar storm was having. And yes, is it Dr. Becky or Dr. Betchy? Dr. Becky, I think, on YouTube for Skywatching. That's pretty cool too, Crow. But he was pointing out the fact that what we were going through right now, the things we were watching, the things we were witnessing with this solar storm, there's voltage being added to the power grid while this was going on. And my facts, I don't believe are right, but it was something similar to 6 volts per 1,000 feet something like 6 volts of 1,000 feet of wire. So you think of the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of feet of wires all around this country, electrical wires, power wires, stuff like that. It was in the thousands of volts. And they're having to bleed this stuff off to keep it from having another Carrington event. It wasn't as bad as like the Carrington event was, obviously. But he said the biggest difference was back then, they had open circuits during the Carrington event. And if you listen to this show, you know what it is. It's when that giant solar storm hit Earth directly, and people were waking up thinking it was morning when it was actually still the middle of the night. It's just the northern lights were so bright that it was lighting up the whole sky. And it was just confusing people, and Union Station, places like that with Morse code that were passing on codes and communicating with each other were catching on fire. Some of them were being able to be used without the electricity because there was so much voltage in the lines from the storm. Well, this is going on right now with us. It's going on right now. There's voltage. We're getting hit by another storm. It's not as big, but there is voltage being put into these lines, not just power lines, mind you. Train tracks, anything that's connected long lengths of line are sucking up voltage from this storm. And it can be dangerous. It can be very dangerous. So a lot of people don't know it. I guess it was 2003. In 2003, there was a storm a little bit stronger than what we even had there that knocked out power in parts of Sweden and damaged electrical transformers in South Africa. So this is heavy. And this storm we just had reached a G5, extreme level, Friday and Saturday. So we saw all of the, lights and pretty stuff like that. But you got to do something with the power. You have to do something with the electricity. It has to bleed off. So this stuff was hitting Earth, and it was just kicking our butts. And let me see where this other, here it is. This is what I want. So you ask yourself, what happens to the electric grid when this stuff happens? Usually on Earth, impacts are generally minimal because the Earth's magnetic field largely shields society from the onslaught of particles, ions and stuff like that. And the impacts are relatively restricted to sectors like the high-frequency radio communications from the ground or GPS or airlines. But we're increasingly dependent upon electricity, which is to say, and this is coming off The Hill. The Hill wrote a little thing on this, which was really good, actually. There's a lot of places that wrote a lot of good, educated takes on the solar storm. They got some experts involved instead of just guessing and asking the people in the lunchroom. So we've got some good stuff. Mike is out of here for the night. Dude, hope you get feeling better. Have a great night. Well, we'll catch you later. But the Carrington event happened in 1859. It was the largest recorded account of a geomagnetic storm. And I have been saying from this show several times, it's not an if another Carrington event happens. It's a when another Carrington event happens. And geomagnetic storms have been recorded since the early 19th century. There's scientific data from Antarctic ice cores that shows evidence of even more massive geomagnetic storms that occurred around, I don't know, right around 1000 AD. Does it say, does this article? Oh, yeah, 774 AD. And it's now known as the Miyake event. Now, that solar flare produced the largest and fastest rise in carbon-14 ever recorded. Geomagnetic storms trigger high amounts of cosmic rays in the Earth's upper atmosphere, which in turn produce carbon-14, a radioactive isotope of carbon. It's like getting nuked. Now, a geomagnetic storm 60% smaller than the Miyake event occurred around AD 993. Nowadays, the National Oceanic Atmosphere Administration uses geomagnetic storm scale to measure the strength of these solar eruptions. Now, the G scale has a rating from 1 to 5, with G1 being minor, G5 being extreme. The Carrington event would have been rated G5. What we just had started touching the G5 range. Crow, that's a great question. Crow in chat asks, aren't the Earth's magnetic poles due to switch sometime soon? There's a theory that, yes, that's going to happen. It's not going to be the catastrophic event that people say it might be. It's going to have some consequences, anything that happens. But the Earth's magnetic poles are already shifting farther and farther and farther. And it could happen. It could happen. Jeff in chat says later this year, early 2025, there's a good chance it could happen. Now, we'll see, but if it happens, there will be some recalibration of a whole lot of stuff. Because GPS, tracking, there's a lot of things that depend on the magnetic poles for calibration. And those poles move a lot, and they've been moving farther and farther and farther every time. So combine that with, going into the solar maximum in 2025, you may see something like that. Anytime the Earth gets bombarded with this much particles from the sun, these coronal mass ejections from the sun, it's going to have some kind of an effect. And there's still an argument out there whether space weather affects our weather. The old school of thought was no. They used to thumb their nose up and go, there's no way. Open-minded scientists, real scientists that actually do some correlation studies and ask real questions instead of just go on with the establishment, they're saying that, yeah, it does, because you can correlate a lot of really bad storms with solar maximums, entering and going away from solar maximums. And Raptor, you're exactly right. Learn to read a paper map. It may do you good to remember directions. Now, nowadays we got NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration. And that Carrington event would have been rated G5. Now, this gets scarier. When you compare the Carrington event with the Miyake event, scientists were able to estimate the strength of the Carrington event based on the fluctuations of Earth's magnetic field as recorded by observatories at the time. There was no way to measure the magnetic fluctuation of the Miyake event. Instead, scientists measured the increase in carbon-14 in tree rings from that time period. The Miyake event produced a 12% increase in carbon-14. By comparison, the Carrington event produced less than 1% increase in carbon-14. The Miyake event likely dwarfed the G5 Carrington event. So, what does that have to do with today? Well, just an event like the Carrington event, which we kind of got close. This storm, we really did get pretty close. They were worried. They had all of the power companies on standby, on alert. They quit running tests and stuff like that like they usually do this time of year. They knocked all that off because they wanted everybody in the power companies, everybody in our infrastructure to be on emergency alert in case the storm got out of control. Now, today, a geomagnetic storm of the same intensity of the Carrington event would affect far more than telegraph wires and could be catastrophic. We have a lot of very lightweight electronics. And a lot of those very fragile, lightweight electronics get charged into our grid. And if we got hit by something like the Carrington event, a lot of your gadgets and gizmos would go away. If we got hit by a Carrington event, good chance a lot of the communication satellites would go away. We'll talk more about that when we come back from the break. We got a lot of stuff to discuss coming back from the break. We'll nerd out a little bit more on the solar storm, but we also have some, well, of course, unfortunately touching on politics. But a lot of things coming on. Don't go away. We're just having fun. We're just warming up. I'm Alan Ray. I'll be back in just a few.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-130.
Tired of outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Yep, speaking of solar storms, I have wireless internet here. It's wreaking havoc on it, not even kidding. It is Sunday Night with Alan Ray. I am your humble host, Alan Ray. Welcome back. We're nerding out on the solar storm. Because it could really, we're not done yet. A lot of these areas in the sun are really acting up. And we're still months away from the actual solar maximum. It'd be a real shame if we lost all our gadgets, wouldn't it? What would the NSA do? What would they do? It's not the only storm that's going on. Even Elon Musk came out today. What was this in? TOI Tech Desk? Just today. Said Elon Musk's Starlink satellites affected by strong solar storm. It says CEO of SpaceX's satellite internet arm Starlink expressed concern about the impact of a powerful geomagnetic storm on Starlink satellites. The Space Weather Prediction Center reported the storm reached the highest level, 5, on a 5-point scale on Friday evening. This is the strongest such event since October 2003, according to Fox News. Major geomagnetic solar storm happening right now, Musk said in a social media post. Biggest in a long time. Starlink satellites are under a lot of pressure, but holding up so far. What Starlink website said earlier, Starlink website acknowledged degraded service without providing specifics. The company operates on a network of roughly 6,000 satellites in low Earth orbit that connected with ground stations to deliver high-speed internet. These satellites also use intersatellite laser links to transmit data at light speed, enabling global coverage. Starlink is a major player in the satellite internet, owning about 60% of the roughly 7,500 satellites currently in orbit. Damage to those satellites could disrupt navigation and communication services worldwide. So, there's, according to NOAA, that G5 magnetic storm can cause widespread voltage control problems. Things happen, things break, and we have a lot of cheap Chinese electronics. I'm not even going to call them junk anymore. They're going through the same thing that Japan went through after World War II. It used to be you get something from Japan like, oh, this is junk. And for a long time, if you got something from China, it's like, oh, this is junk. Well, the ham radio community has a lot of things from China. Our beloved Baofeng radios are all from China. My Xiegu G90 that I gush over sometimes because it's like under $500 is from China. So, yes, and you're right, Jeff. Musk launched another 20 to 23 units tonight at 9 p.m. So there you go. It's not the only storm going on right now, folks. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I didn't do a show last week. Last week, I had internet problems. Things are going wonky. I don't know what the heck was going on around here. We were without it for a while. I was exhausted. Didn't get internet back till like Monday early afternoon, late morning. Just a rough time. So it's been 2 weeks. It feels like it's been a month. But last time I was on, we talked about MFJ Enterprises. MFJ Enterprises is a big ham radio outfit. Ameritron amps, Cushcraft antennas, MFJ products, antenna tuners, stuff like that. A whole lot of products. And the guy's just folding up. He's 80 years old. He says, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. We never fully recovered from COVID. Well, there's other victims of the COVID debacle, the absolute shutdown of our economy. That 2 weeks to flatten the curve that turned into a year, where we almost had to fight our way out of lockdown. There's a perfect storm wiping out America's restaurants. This is according to the Daily Mail. It says Americans are eating out less as inflation weakens the dollar in their pocket, which is leading to some harsh consequences for restaurants across the country. Visits to sit-down restaurants were down nearly 5% in 2023 from the year prior, according to the location analytics from Placer.ai. Even big metropolitan areas in the U.S. known for their great dining spots are struggling to maintain an environment where it's profitable to run a restaurant. Eater New York magazine reported that over 40 bars and restaurants closed in New York City from December 23 to January 2024, with some of the owners saying business simply never picked up after the COVID lockdowns in 2020. But in a city where it would take a person over 22 years to eat at every single restaurant, the problem isn't as pronounced. In Middle America, where there are fewer people and household incomes are lower, almost all restaurants are feeling the pressure of empty seats. Iowa's capital of Des Moines, for example, has seen many restaurants close because of lower foot traffic. Establishments are, of course, aware of this, but so are the remaining restaurants' regulars. Des Moines native Monica Wilk-Brown says she thinks people got used to cooking at home, too, and just going out less. The latest casualty of the rash of restaurant closures in Des Moines was Gusto Pizza, for which almost a decade was a persistent popular place to get a slice of pizza. There's things closing all over. And a lot of it has to do with, dare I say it, oh, dare you, the economy. I know. Our commander-in-chief, who we're supposed to idolize because he's so intelligent, he's so on the ball for his age, who can't really even walk across the fields without tripping. He's lying. Either that or he just doesn't know how bad it is. Congress critters, I know they know. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. They're lying. The economy is not good. The only entities that the economy is good for right now are Wall Street and Washington, D.C. Everybody else is suffering. And you're going to get restaurant closures. And this is sad. It really is sad because a lot of these are small mom and pop owned businesses that just aren't coming back. And a lot of them closed during COVID, never to open again. And it's sad. But we're supposed to sit here and believe that the economy is just fine. We're being told right now that everything is under control. Everything is great. Americans have more money to spend, so the economy's not bad. The economy's not good. You can't have every single thing in the country increase in price. You can't have gas jack up to the percentage it was for a year and a half, 2 years. And it still has not come down much. It still keeps riding up. And as soon as people notice it, it goes back down magically. And it'll ride up. And then as soon as people notice it, it goes back down again. Because it's being manipulated. We know that. We're not stupid. We see it. But now you are seeing businesses come out and say we never fully recovered from COVID and we're going to have to close. Crow, you're exactly right. Support your local businesses when you can. Support your local mechanics. Support your local restaurants. Support your local shops, your mom and pop places that sell presents and coffee and stuff like that. Support them as much as you possibly can. Because these are the people that are going to save the economy. These are the people just trying to get by. The restaurant that I took my wife to today, and I tweeted about this, but I'll go ahead and say it here. It's a place in Adrian, Michigan called Hooligans. Now, that was a regular stop of my acoustic act. We would play there, once or twice a month for quite a few months. And we played there just a couple of weeks before they shut everything down from COVID. And I remember talking to my guitar player about all the weird stuff going on and how freaked out everybody was. And it was kind of odd because at the time, he was complaining that he still had remnants of the cold that he had caught months before. Now we know it was COVID, probably. And he couldn't shake it. But this little restaurant has gone through a couple of owners, but it's quaint. It's kind of a tavern restaurant. The food is it's really good. Every time I've eaten there, the food's been exceptional. A little tiny stage that if you're an acoustic act, you're set. I mean, it's just take one speaker, throw it up there, and everybody can hear you in the whole place. And it takes 15 minutes to set up, and people are pretty appreciative of it. But that was one of the only shows I took my mom and her cousin, and her cousin's husband. They came and watched me play there in 2020. This is like a couple of weeks before Mom passed away. And we went there today, took my wife there. We had my daughter and her husband and my oldest son. My youngest son's still across state. But anyways, for Mother's Day, they had a good special going on, and Mom's got treated nicely and all that. But it makes you, there's hundreds of little restaurants like this, little places where they support live music, where you can go and get something that's not your usual typical, big place, a big corporate industrial food factory where they plop something in front of you that's supposed to be really good, but it's just bland. No, this is actually made by a chef in the back, and the menu changes constantly, and it's good. And the people who own it, they aren't multi-billionaires. They're getting by. They own a restaurant, and they're happy to be owning their own business, but they struggle. And the waitress, who was like 6 months pregnant, wonderful person. She was a mom too, so we all wished her a happy Mother's Day. Gave her a nice big tip. It was a great time. But what I'm saying, these are the places that are going away. These are the places that this economy is killing. And I know we're being told by the, quote, experts, unquote, that the economy is great. The economy is not great. The economy is killing people. The economy is squashing us. And the reason a lot of these restaurants are closing is because people can't afford to go out to eat. I even noticed that the prices for meals have gone up almost 100% since before COVID. Almost 100%. Used to be you can go into a restaurant, two people, just about any restaurant, two people could eat for $25, $30. A good meal. You'll be lucky to get out of a fast food joint for $25, $30 now. A real restaurant, a sit-down restaurant, a halfway decent place, if you get out of there under $50, you're doing pretty good nowadays. It's ridiculous. Used to be you could go in with a family of 5, like we had, and still only spend $50 and feed everybody. Now it's $100, $120 easily. The economy's not good, and I don't care what they say. Everybody's wallet tells a different story than what they're trying to tell you. We're in for some more hard times. And I hate to say it. I hate to be the old curmudgeon-y type cynical person, but if the Democrats win this election coming up, we're screwed. Because they know the economy is bad. They want it bad. They want it bad because if you're not a victim, you don't need a Democrat. They want you crushed because they want you to depend on them for your everything. And they hate it when you don't have to. They're going to come after you if you don't. A lot of people, oh, you're being paranoid. You're being a conspiracy theorist. No, they tell you. They tell you all the time. These are the people on the left that don't want you to drive a pickup truck. They don't want you to eat beef. They don't want you to have a garden. Remember, they came right out, and they've said it several times, that you shouldn't have a home garden. Their overlord, Klaus Schwab at the WEF, said people shouldn't have home gardens. It's bad for the environment. It is not bad for the environment. It's never been bad for the environment. It's great for the environment to plant plants and raise your own food. It's not about the climate. It's about control, and it always has been, and you got to wake up. And now we're coming up on this 2024 election. And I said this several times, actually. But at the top of the whole, Palestinian protest thing, yeah, it sounds a lot like Soylent Green, Raptor. In fact, if you go back and watch the movie Soylent Green, you can see we're heading there. It's really bad. Because if you remember, a lot of themes of the movie Soylent Green where the cops were basically, the cops got paid by looting places, looting crime scenes. And if you remember, Charlton Heston, there's a murder in that rich guy's apartment. He wraps up steaks and takes it with him. He gets fresh vegetables and he takes it with him, and he steals a bunch of stuff from the crime scene and leaves. You gotta remember that stuff. I mean, it's like we're heading there. But anyways, when all this Palestinian stuff started, I tweeted this out. I was like, it would not surprise me one bit to find out that the same people funding the Palestinian protest are the exact same people that funded Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Well, lo and behold, I find this article. And it's dated May 5th. Like I said, I didn't do anything last week, so it's kind of old. But it says, Politico mocked for being surprised on who is funding the anti-Israel protests. Surprising to who? And it says, anti-Israel protesters who have descended on college campuses are reportedly getting funding from several big-name Democratic donors, according to a report, that have backed President Biden's re-election efforts. Democratic donors such as George Soros, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, David Rockefeller Jr., who sits on the board of the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, and Susan Nick Pritzker, who own the Hyatt Hotel Corporation, have funded pro-Palestinian efforts to protest the Israel-Hamas war, Politico reported. Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now are the main organizations behind the anti-Israel protests at the Columbia University, as well as other campuses, according to the outlet. They are backed by the Tides Foundation, which receives substantial amount of funding from Soros, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and distributes money to the left-wing causes. So Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now are the main organizations behind the anti-Israel protests. All these little bubble-headed morons you see in college campuses that are protesting, okay, the students, the easy, vulnerable, the ones who have looked at a couple of books and now think they know everything, that everybody else is stupid who's not in academia, they're being used as useful idiots. The ones who are being bussed there, the ones, again, most of the students in college campuses have gone home now, and I know this for a fact. And the most people left are just the activists, with a couple of diehard students. Those activists are being funded by Soros, Bill and Melinda Gates, Rockefellers. It's disgusting. Susan and Nick Pritzker, the Hyatt Hotel people. This goes on to say, the Rockefeller Fund donated $300,000 to the Tides Foundation in 2022, according to Politico. The Tides Foundation has given $500,000 to the Jewish Voice for Peace, a far-left anti-Zionist organization who blamed the October 7th attacks on Israel and the U.S. rather than Hamas. These are left-wing extremists. And I know you're not supposed to say that word, but they are left-wing extremists. The Politico report headline, pro-Palestinian protesters are backed by a surprising source, Biden's biggest donors. Surprising who? And Chaya Raichik, Libs of TikTok creator, wrote on X last week, this is actually the least surprising thing I've heard all year. And then Washington Free Beacon reported Joe Gabriel Samanso, he quipped, glad you guys could make it. It's like you're the last people finding out. They are being funded by the exact same people who put money into Black Lives Matter, the organization that ripped off the black people, screwed them over, took the money and ran, bought mansions, leaving people that actually really wanted to see something done face down in the dirt. Antifa, who, if you remember right, left-wing government sources said Antifa didn't even exist. Your Nancy Pelosi's and your Chuck Schumer's, all these people, remember them sitting there on TV looking right in the eye saying, Antifa is not really an organization. It's just a loose bunch of kids. No, it's not. It's being organized by activists. And let's replace the word activist with terrorist. Let's call them what they are. They're not activists. They are terrorists. Their main goal is to strike fear into the hearts of people in this nation. They don't want all-out violence, but just enough violence where it looks like chaos and mayhem and makes you afraid and think twice about going into cities. So you throw your hands up and say, well, what do we do now? Well, we know things are hard, but we'll offer you the solution. We have it right here. It's called socialism. Create the problem and give them the solution that you created before the problem started. That's what they do. That's what they've done this forever. You've got these protesters marching on graduations. University of Michigan graduation. They were marching through there. They got shut down rather quickly. They're finding out that if they interrupt these graduations, they start trying to take them over, they get booed, shouted down, and arrested. So now what do? They organize walkouts. Duke University, this is just today, Duke University graduates walk out ahead of Jerry Seinfeld's commencement address. So dozens of students walked out of Duke University's commencement ceremony on Sunday as actor and comedian Jerry Seinfeld was about to give his address, according to videos posted on social medias. It's anti-Semitism is what it is. Blatant. The same people that called you and I Nazis because we don't believe in Democrat socialism, in neo-socialism where you bow down to the government. We don't believe it. They called us Nazis. They called everybody Nazis. Everybody that didn't walk the Marxist line, anybody that didn't walk the Marxist line was called a Nazi. And now these exact same people are acting like what? Well, I don't want to use the N-word because I don't think anybody is that extreme right now. Nobody's being gassed. Nobody's being herded up, rounded up, put on train cars. But they sure are acting a lot like pre-World War II Germany. They really, really are. So apparently these people walked out on Jerry Seinfeld. Some of them are screaming free Palestine, yada, yada. And what I want to know is this. What the heck does protesting on campuses have to do with solving something in Gaza, in Israel? Why would you think for a moment, and think this through with me, why would you think for a moment that a protest on a college campus is going to mean anything to Netanyahu? Anything to the leaders of Hamas? Guess what? It don't. And they know it don't. They don't care that it don't. What they want is to have that image stuck in your head because we're coming up on an election and they want chaos. They want disorder. They want things to seem really, really bad so they can, the same people who are causing this chaos can put their hands out and say, well, come to us and we'll fix all of this, just like they did in 2020. Remember Nancy Pelosi standing up there going, oh, I don't know why more of this stuff isn't happening because, Donald Trump. It's ridiculous. And until we start arresting these people, funding these terrorists, nothing's going to change. But guess what? Nobody's going to arrest them because the same people run the Justice Department and the FBI and the CIA and the NSA. We have a problem in this country, folks. We have a big, big problem. There's a fix. There's a cure. A lot of people aren't going to like it. It's called primarying out every single politician. Primary them out. Especially the establishment ones, especially the career politicians on both sides, because the Democrat or Republican career politicians will sit there and just throw their hands up and go, oh, you look at them Democrats, I don't know what to do. And in the background, they're part of it. Primary them out after 4 years. Flush the entire government and put brand new people in. 3 elections in a row. If you were to, whoever's in power, vote them out, primary them out, somebody else in. You do that 3-4 elections in a row, the government would be in such chaos that it would take them decades to reorganize themselves and get people used to being a government again. In the meantime, our freedoms would start coming back. Nobody would have their claws sunk into the money machine in D.C. Nobody would be coaxing the Justice Department to go after their political enemies. Well, there you have it. It's 10 o'clock. We've already reached the top of the hour. My God, this goes fast. Cool Starlink update on the tweet in there. I'll have to check that out. I'm going to go outside and look at the sky. I know this is Jeff's shtick, and I'm kind of stealing it, and I get wound up over politics. I get wound up over some of the things that are happening. But let me tell you something. Out of all of this, out in the cornfields of southeastern Michigan, it's peaceful. It's very beautiful. It was a gorgeous sunny day. And none of this chaos was anywhere to be seen because we don't tolerate it. That's how it is. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. God knows you have a huge task. My mom did, raising me. Lord have mercy. My wife is such a mama bear and an exceptional person. And we ended up, in spite of ourselves, raising 3 pretty good kids. Got to admit, now that they're adults, they turned out all right. God bless you. Lord willing, I will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat place. Keep it locked on KLRN Radio all week long. We got a lot of things coming up, a lot of new programs coming up. We already have some great ones, but we got more coming down the pipeline. We're just adding on and adding on. It's really turning into a powerhouse. KLRN Radio is America's podcast network. We'll talk again soon. God bless.